Okay, welcome to episode 1 of the ZD Racing 1920 version 3 rebuild. So to recap, where the main points where I wanted to focus on was the diff. And if you saw my first video, which was like an in-depth review about the ZD Racing 1920 version 3, you'll see that one of the main things that I wasn't really happy with were the diff housings and how they're bowed inwards, and it doesn't really give you much. It doesn't give you much room to put shims in. So what we're gonna do. So I've got some shims here. Different types. These are for the ZD Racing. These ones you normally find on the wheels, and these you'll find on the center diff and the differential, the rear and front differentials. But a lot of these cars coming out of China, they're not putting the shims in. So the first idea I've got is, if we get two shims out of here, there we go. So basically, normally the idea behind shimming is this: the pinion gear there and the spur gear here. The idea behind it is that it spaces the distance between them. So I've got one here. This is a pinion gear for the diff spur. So if you see how they mesh together. So shimming allows you to control the space, how much space is between the pinion and the spur. And you kind of need a slight gap, otherwise you're going to have loud grinding sounds, or so loud grinding sounds if they're too close, and slipping if they're too far apart. So the idea behind putting the little shims in is to control the distance or the space between the pinion and the spur. So normally you'll put one shim here, one shim there, and place it in there. But the trick is that get them in there without bending them. So the idea is that you put the shims in. So we'll try that. I've got the two shims in there now. And now we'll put this cover back over. It goes that way. Keep in mind, this is a brand new diff housing that was sent to me by the person that I brought it from, because I made a little I sent a comment to them showing my issue. So they were nice enough to send me a brand new set of diff housing, but unfortunately they have the same problem. They're bowed inward, and of course now, oh, that's actually not too bad. That's really good. That's how it should be. Oh, you know what? I think we could go with that. When I put this on last night, it was actually causing the same problem. It was causing the edge of this here, of the diff, to rub on the inner wall of the diff housing. And of course that just creates unwanted friction. And of course with friction comes heat. and when plastic heats up, it either expands or shrinks. And I'm pretty sure this plastic shrinks. So that's one possible way to do it with two, and the other way is to put two on this opposite side. Now, of course, that's going to give us more space. That's going to push the spur gear slightly further away from the pinion, and it's also going to push the inner diff housing there, the inner diff away from the inner diff housing a bit more. So that's one way there. The other way I was thinking is that I could take the diff apart and actually put one of these small ones in between the bearing and the diff plastic here, so it would fit down inside there, just to give that bearing a slight bit of space, so it had a better chance to clear the diff housing. Because I mean, what happens is that if these are not spaced properly, they get hot and they shrink. I'm pretty sure that's what happened here, because this is the one that came off my car. That's a very tight fit, and that, you see, that rubs. You should be able to hear that. That sound is plastic rubbing against plastic. So that friction is either gonna expand or shrink that plastic. Sure, it shrank it more, causing more of the bow. I quite liked how the two shims on there spaced that out. So I think maybe what I'll do is I could put it all together with the two shims, a test run, and see how it handles. Give it a couple of runs, and then maybe even pull it apart again and see if that fixes the issue. Basically, if you can get these cars, if you can get the 1920 version 3 or any of the monster truck versions, or any of those, and you can get these diffs working right, they'll be a good quality car. Apart from, I've seen a lot of people show that the actual plastic is quite brittle, and people are breaking some of the arms on the front steering and stuff like that. I think that if you really seriously bash them really, really hard, yeah, you're gonna break them. It's just like any other car. If you bash it too hard, it's gonna break. So, you kind of have to be a bit gentle, I think. But one thing I do notice about one thing I was noticing about this type of plastic is that if you look carefully, it's actually got little fibers inside it. So it's probably a composite fiber, carbon fiber plastic mixture. So it's probably not carbon fiber, but it's definitely some sort of composite plastic. It's maybe it's made a little bit too brittle. But it's hard. It's brittle, but it's really strong. So yeah, there's just some extra thoughts on that there. So I think what I'll do is prepare to actually rebuild these diffs. Right.